Good morning. I'm going to have to duck down here in order to get into the camera. Good morning. As you can see, I've got a nice clean dog here, and she was groomed 8 weeks ago. Now, we have all done them. I think that's the most thing that we do is the basic shave down. Now, I know that most people around can do a basic shave down fairly easy, but getting the finish work on that, I find I personally don't see the finish work. I see a quick shave down, they get it done, wash dried in an hour, which don't get me wrong, I can do the same thing, but I see hair sticking out, I see unevenness, I don't like the way it looks. Now that's not to say that that's all that they could do on that dog, because it was a wiggle worm, it was mean, it was nasty. We've all had those type dogs, and I have definitely done those type dogs before, where I do them and I go, sorry, that's all I can do because your dog is ill-behaved. But this young lady, she's not really young, but she was done 8 weeks ago, and all these people want is a shave down. They want nothing more. I've tried to do a cute little visor. I started off with a cute round teddy bear face. Nope, not short enough. I went with more of a shaved muzzle, and tried to leave a little bit on top. Not good enough. She wanted it shaved as well. And now they don't like the visor. They want it as short as possible. I absolutely hate these haircuts because they do not give me any kind of validation that I'm a good groomer. But in saying that, I want to show everybody how they can do these and make them look their best. They can absolutely do the best damn shave down than anybody else in your neighborhood, and that would be the whole key thing. Is I want to show you how to do the best, because that's going to make you stand out. Like I said, I don't get to do very many fancy haircuts, because everybody in this area wants their dog shaved, and that's all they've ever gotten. Because now I'm going to say this, and I mean this in the nicest way, but the only way I know how to refer to them is I call them backyard whack and hack jobs, whether they're by the owner or by somebody who claims that they're a groomer. Now, I'm not opposed to those people branching out and learning how to do a quality haircut on a dog. Great, it's quick money for some people, but it's not all that it's chalked up to be. Now, I would like to show you guys how I go about doing this and do the routine exactly how I do every single dog, whether I'm leaving hair or I'm shaving it all off. But I'd like to show you, there's tips and tricks to doing full nice haircuts, quick and easy with minimal scissoring, because I know I showed you guys in another video that yes, I do too. I cringe when I have to do a shave down, because most of my clients know that that is not what I want to specialize in. I want to specialize in those fancy haircuts, at least leaving some coat. And I will usually try to talk people out of shaving their dogs rather than shaving them. But I keep going shorter and shorter with this dog, and now I'm going to go even shorter. But there is a point where I say, no, I'm not going any shorter than this. This is what you're going to get. I still have other little things that I can go with her. But this is 8 weeks grown out from a complete shave down, which doesn't look not bad. And this is where most people go wrong. I mean, owners, I should say. When they have a dog, they get it completely shaved down, and they go 8 weeks later, it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't need to shave it again. But it could definitely use a bath and tidy up at this point. This is where I try to get people in on a regular basis, especially when I'm so booked up that they can't get in, and then their dog becomes really matted at that point. So here's a good example of 8 weeks after a shave down and why people don't come back. You have to book them, you have to train your clients. But besides the point, I'm going to get started. You'll know that I use a clipper vac. I say this every single time. It's quicker, it's faster, less messier. If you guys want to see my clipper vac and how I have it all set up, I am more than happy to show you. You'll be surprised as to easily go and make it yourself. It's not an expensive, fancy little doodad that you have to buy from an actual grooming place. And it definitely can, there's a few tricks and things like that to go with it. So to get started, I've got my clippers. When I groom a dog, and it goes for any dog, I start with one blade and I do everything that I need to do with that blade. So, if I'm going to use a 40 blade, I only use a 40 blade on the bottom of the pads, and depending on the Shih Tzu, like she's got a fairly long nose, I'll just use a 10 blade. Depending on the Shih Tzu, I will use a 40 blade in between the eyes. I'll use a 40 blade on the inside of the ears if it's a cocker or a schnauzer. So like I said, I use one blade at a time. Of course you can't use more than one, but you go through and do everything that you need to do on that dog with one blade, and that way it saves your blade drive and your latch and things like that. By opening and closing it constantly, you wear it out, and that's how you go through them so quickly. I can honestly say I've had this blade drive on for the last 5 months, and I'm booked solid every single day. And then even on my days off, I'm grooming my own dogs. So I can make my things last quite a while by doing this. This is another way of prolonging your equipment, so you don't have to spend so much money and so much time sending it off and waiting for it to come back. So I'm going to start with a 40 blade. See, now I do need to send my clippers off to be serviced because the little button, it's falling off my little hook in here. I have to use well, probably helps if I actually plug it in, huh? Where did it go? Sorry guys. Helps, like I said, if you plug it in. Yep. So I have to use a small little tool to do it. Now another thing is, always turn your clippers on when you put your blades on. That allows it to latch on properly. Instead of trying to put it on, you get a guaranteed lock. So now when I do my dogs, first thing I do is I always do the bottom of the feet. I shape the bottom of the feet with a 40 blade. Some of you will use a 15, a 10, a 30. You can use whatever you want, but I use a 40. I really like that clean shaven look. And when you're doing the bottom of the pad, you don't want to really go up above that little pad line. So you want to shave everything on the bottom half. So anything that sticks up. And I get into that pad. These are pets. If this was a show dog, I wouldn't be doing that. And I just kind of go around each and every foot. Now when using a clipper back, there is a little bit of a learning curve on how to deal with the hose in your way and things like that. If they want to sit down, let them sit down. Don't fight them. I mean, there's no need to fight when trying to do this. This is only the third time I've ever groomed her, but she's been groomed prior to this. And again, all she gets is a shave down. I like to use a 40 blade just because it gets a really nice clean finish. You do have to be careful with the 40 blade because you can scratch them, especially when you're digging into the pad, so you want to be careful. But I like it because, again, I don't have hair all over my desk, all over my table. I get less hair splinters in my elbows or my arms or anything like that. So that's all I'm doing with the 40 blade. So I'm pretty much done with that one. Now I'm going to jump over to, nope, that's fine. This will be on Facebook for you the whole time, Trace. So that's why I do these things live, only because I don't have the storage on my phone to do a long video, and plus I like to let people ask or have questions if they need to. But this is always going to be up there on Facebook, so if you're watching, great. If not, you can leave and come back later. This will always be on the page for you to go and find and watch later. You can skip through the parts that you don't want to watch, but right now you can't skip through, you have to watch me. So now when I put a brand new 10 blade on, or a blade that's cool, I'm going to do the more sensitive parts first, like the face, the belly, and then I'll do the butt later. So when I go to do a dog, I hold their face, and I have my thumb kind of locked right into her little ridge, and then I'm holding all that hair out of her eye. Especially if you're trying to leave some of the fringe, we're going to end up taking that off. But so I shave right there in front of the eyes. It's always about a finger's width, is what I always do. But we're going to shape her face like a poodle, so I can show you a few little poodle tricks on getting a clean shaven face, because a lot of times I find people aren't cleaning up the face very well when they're doing a shave down. So we're going to clean up her face. I'm going to use a 10 blade. I'm going to go down the nose. Okay, I've got the top half of her eyes. Now, you fold that ear over, okay, out of the way. And from this corner right here of her ear to her eye, that's your line right there. So you'll kind of want to hold it up. And just roughly kind of go straight across, okay? You can clean that line up in just a second. Now, to get this part right underneath that eye, I know it's going to be kind of difficult to see. But can you see that I'm kind of pulling her eyelid up so that this part is on top of her eye, okay? And then I'm just going to go right over the top of that. That cleans up all those little hairs underneath that eye. So here, I'll bring this a little closer. So see how I've cleaned up underneath her eye? Basically what I've done is I've pulled her eye up so that her eyelid is up on top of her eyeball instead of down underneath, where it's really prone to getting grabbed or clipped. So that's how you clean up that eye, right up underneath there. Okay, so I've got this upper half done. Now I'm just going to come over here and finish cleaning up. And you can use the same exact method on a poodle, guys. So what I'm showing you is basically what to do on a poodle. So from the base of that ear to the bottom of their throat, okay? And the best thing to do is if you can just picture, okay? You can just stand there. You'll eventually get to see this visually, okay? But from the base of their neck, which there's the base, like the start of her neck there, okay, it's about 2 fingers up, okay, on these little dogs. You can kind of just gauge it, where right about there is where that is going to start. It's also right about where the collar sits, okay, and I'm going to do like a little V, or you can do a U, okay. Now, yeah, she's getting shaved down. This is going to be blended in. You're not really going to see it, but I'm just showing you guys. Oh, she'll look better in a U-shaped little thing. So, here right here is where I find a lot of groomers go wrong. Okay, they're not stretching that skin out to do this. What do you need?
No, it's just saying where you're up to.
Oh, good. I still have another half an hour, so
Okay.
I've got a live video audience going.
Sorry.
All right. So, like I said, right now I've got, the key thing is to, see that you gotta pull that skin back. Now, if this is a dog that you know isn't gonna bite, don't be afraid to put your fingers in their mouth. So, put your finger in that mouth and pull that back. And this little bit right here that sits right there by that little tooth, okay, you want to get that. That stinks. That hair is gross. You'll find that it gets so really sore. Okay? And that top lip, okay, do be careful. You can grab that with your blades. So gently, just gently float over that. You can actually cut that little corner bit, so be careful with that. Okay? So I've got one side of this little dog's face completely shaved. Now we come over to the other side. This is my hard side. This is my weak side. So I kind of come up from that point and go to the base of that ear. Same thing, I come over here and I pull that eyelid up so that it's up over her eye. And you'll notice I'm not using the corner of this, I'm using the actual middle part of this to go over that. Because if I go over with the corner, I have a likelihood of digging it into her eye. If I go over it like this, I have a less likely chance of grabbing her eyelid with the middle part of my blade. Okay, same thing here. Pull that lip back. See all that nasty little hair that we're going to get? Okay, pull all that hair up. And pull it back again. And gently go over the top. You're just kind of floating over it and grabbing it. It's also where a clipper back can help. Now there's always these little hairs right here on top of the nose. Don't be afraid to go just a little against that. So now I've got her face completely shaved. This is what a Shih Tzu looks like, clean shaven face. It's not a bad little look, but I can't, if I leave any hairs, they go and chop on it later. So at least prevents it from being chopped on too much. So now that I've got the face done, I do the belly. Now, I'm not sure how some of you go about doing that belly. I know I see a lot of people come in here and do this. I do this, but this is the second part. That's the second half of this. If it's a small little dog and it will stand up, by all means, I ask them to stand up. Now, I will try to do this at a different angle so you guys can see. Okay, my first swipe is right kind of at the base of her little belly. And that her belly button is right there. It's not here at the rib cage, it's right here at the belly button. Okay. And by holding her up like this, I can literally get from her knee, I can get a straight line all the way up. Same thing on this side. From her knee, and get a straight line going straight up. Okay, that's about all I can get at the moment. So, now is where you pick that back leg up. Okay? Make sure you hold your tail, and this is where it can get hard. Hold your tail if you have any hair on it, and ask them to stand up. And then you can kind of go from the back side and go kind of up to her vulva. And you can kind of get some of that from this side. And make sure you get that clean. So many people leave so much hair on it. And I know some people are controversially about that. Some owners will go, oh, they constantly lick themselves, you nicked them, or you did something. No, that's because you cleaned it, and they can finally clean it, and they can finally get to it. So you really still want to be careful because you can nick it, you can scratch it, but that's the least of my worries when I'm using a 10 blade. Okay, so once I've got the belly done, we move on to the bottom, the butt. Now, when I go to do this, I kind of go, I start at the side and I go, kind of angle it out. I'm not going over it. If you go straight over it like this, now I'm going to go start. So I start right here at the top of the middle bottom and I go up a couple of fingers. It's about 2 fingers width, but how I also judge that, which also goes for poodles. I see so many people shave their tails all the way up to here on these little poodle ponytails, and that's not attractive to me, especially when you're one that grooms and shows poodles. But if you put your finger right underneath their little plumb bottom, okay, and you put that tail down, when you go to pick that tail up, okay, look at where my finger is. The top part, or the bottom of my finger now was at the bottom of her down here. That's how much hair you want to shave off. And then if it's a poodle and you're doing like a tail set, you would shave that all the way around at that point. And you still have all this big, long, beautiful hair to work with. This way, when they put their tail down, they don't have, they don't get poop and stuff stuck to it. And what little bit hangs off to the side, there's at least a little bit of space so that that tail isn't necessarily dragging in poop. So that's the reasoning for how far up you go, or that's how far up you go when you go to do this. Okay, so I've got her little butt area. Now, I will end up taking her ears down some, but not a lot. So, but I'm going to take a 10 blade to the inside of her ears, just so that when I go to do it, I can clean it up. So when you go to do this, you want to be careful. They have these little flaps right here on the corner. Okay, but if you keep your blades going out to the outside, so they're always going to the tips of the ears. So this is the way I'm going to go. We're going to go out. Okay. So that's the shaved inside of her ear. If you need to do any plucking or anything, you can do that afterwards. Same thing over here. You always want to go to the outside. Your tips of the teeth need to always go to the outside edges of your ear. Because if not, if you go and run along the side of that ear, you're going to end up catching that ear leather in between, depending on how thin that ear is. So, now depending, like I said, on the dog, I'll use a 40 blade on the inside of the ears as well. But for her case, it doesn't necessarily need to be that. So 10 is suitable for this. Okay. So, if I was going to leave coat on her, I'd start now just taking a comb attachment to her. But I'm shaving her down. So, I'm probably going to do a 7 on her. Now, I do, most of my blades I go in reverse. I've started with a 4 reverse, not short enough. I did a 5 reverse last time, not short enough. I think a 7, a 7's like my last call that I go. The only time I ever go shorter on a dog is if it's a show dog. I will take a 40 to a poodle, or whatever it is that I'm going to be doing, because that is a totally different type of grooming. But for pet-wise, a 7 reverse is about the shortest I'll ever go. I won't go any shorter than that. Why I go reverse? 1, I get a cleaner, smoother look. As you can see, this was a 5 reverse, and that's grown out very nice, even, and it grows back. It grows back just fine. I haven't noticed a difference, and I've been doing this for 16 years. So going in reverse and shaving down doesn't necessarily ruin the dog's coat, in the fact that this is a single-coated dog. Your double-coated dog breeds, it changes it only for the fact of it changes the structural, and that's a whole nother whole nother ball game. I can explain that later in another video. But this is where, if you watched my last video, you will have seen that I do the feet. I start off by doing my cheater poodle feet, and I showed you how to hold the clippers and the comb or the brush at the same time and do this. Now, I'm not necessarily doing cheater poodle feet because I need a cleaner look on her, a much cleaner look, because she's got much hairier feet than the last dog that I just did, or that I showed you on in that video. Oh my goodness. So, I'm actually going to do poodle feet on her because it's going to blend in quite nice. So a 10 poodle foot is actually going to blend in very nice with a 7 on her body. So, I just start by going over the entire foot to the point that I would stop. Okay, like I said, I'm doing poodle feet on her, but we're shaving her down so it's not going to look funny. So now I've completely shaved over the whole entire top of that foot, and I'm going to have to put her head up because she wants to get in my face, and I can't have that. So now I go and I grab each one and I do each digit. I just kind of scoop the inside of that toenail. Okay, now again, this is a pet. I don't panic over it being super, super perfect, but the hair around those toenails, to me, makes it look very unfinished. And so what I'm trying to show you guys is the quality of work that you do, you can charge more for it, even if it's a simple shave down. My price doesn't necessarily change and make it less because I'm doing a shave down on a dog. I still charge the same. So, and like I said, I just quickly scoop in between those toes. I'm using a 10 blade when doing this. So now I've got a nice clean poodle foot, and I'm not going to have to scissor that. So when I go to do this again, you don't necessarily have to brush it if you don't want to. As you see, I haven't even brushed the entire dog. I'm just going straight for it. And I do this on every dog that I shave down. Like I said, there's more than one way I do feet. This is another way I do feet. So if you're watching any of my videos where I do feet, I have many, many, many ways of doing feet depending on the type of dog. Depending on what kind of haircut I'm going to do, depending on what style I'm going for. So if I shave the dog down, if I know it's a dog that's not going to tolerate this very well, I'll do cheater feet. In this case, she tolerates this fairly well. Not the easiest, she still moves, but you know what? This is what you guys can see, that I can still do it. You can too. So I'm doing all my little detail work first. If you haven't noticed, I do my feet, I do my butt, my face. I do all those things first, because then when I go to do my main body, it's quick and easy, a few little snips of the scissors, and I'm done. So yes, I take my time when I do all these little detail things. So, this is my hard foot, so I have to do half of it one way and then half of it the other. You do the foot however it makes it comfortable for you. I I tell people there's no right or wrong way of grooming a dog. There's only safe and unsafe ways. And as long as you are safe, you can go about grooming it however you can. You have to be inventive when you go to do this job. You can't, not every dog can necessarily be the same cookie cutter shape. Although that seems to be what we do. Or I call them cookie cutter haircuts because it's the same haircut, same style, just different dogs. So the classic puppy cut on a Shih Tzu, same thing. It's same haircut, different dog. My girlfriend actually came up with that name. Oh, it's another cookie cutter cut. Because that's what we seem to do. As you see, I've kind of gone through these feet fairly quickly. And in the whole time, my blade is not hot whatsoever. Because, again, the clipper back draws air over those blades as it's sucking that hair up and keeps them nice and cool. And I'll be honest, I can't do poodle feet on my own poodle without the clipper back. Even when I was showing him, I just do all the shaved bits, I had the clipper back on. I just couldn't do it without. So we have gotten now all feet. I'm now done with that 10 blade. I will probably need to come back and do that when I do the head, but I'm only switching. This is only the second time I'm switching my blades out. So now I'm moving to a 7. Yep, I am doing a 7. There's nothing wrong with doing a 7 reverse. The dog has a thick coat. She doesn't necessarily see the skin. Wouldn't be doing this on a very thin coated dog, obviously. I'd be using like a 4 or a 3 in reverse. So when I start on any kind of dog, whether I'm shaving it down, I start from the back and go forward. When I'm doing a comb clip, I start from the front and go back. You pick your routine, your method, and the method that you're seeing me doing and the routine that I'm doing is the same routine I do on every single dog, so that I don't forget anything. I'm talking to you, I can easily get distracted. But because it's autopilot when I go to do this, especially if I'm just chilling, listening to music. Okay. So I just go to town and I start shaving. If you're a person that don't like reverse clipping, I am so sorry, but this is the way that I was taught many years ago. I can go both ways, but that type of haircut going in with the hair on this coat type is not practical. It will not give you a very clean, neat finish. You're going to be brushing and going over and over and over, and then you have hair, little tiny hairs everywhere, and I hate that. If you use a 7 with, that's the exact same thing as a 5 reverse. So when you can get a cleaner finish going 5 reverse instead of a 7 with, I would much rather do that. So that little line that I had on her butt, I'm just connecting that right about there. So you will see I completely move. I do this entire leg before I even move away from it, inside and out. So I've kind of got that whole entire leg shaved. And I like to move and do, like I said, the back first. So pretty much I'm at the hips. I'm going to flip her around. And now I'm going to do this side and work up, because by this time, if I can get the back done, she can sit down for the rest of it, and it's not going to affect me in any way, shape, or form. as you can see, I've got my hand tucked up underneath her, holding that tail out of the way. But when I pick her up, you see where my hands are? I'm actually pulling her leg back. It's not pulling it out, I'm pulling it back and locking it so that it can't move. She can't bend it, so that I can pick her up. And get those legs and everything. Okay, and doing those around those flank areas seems to be really scary for people. If you learn to pull that skin, you see, if you learn to pull that skin pretty taut, okay, and pull it back, you can go right over that. You just try not to go like this to it, okay? So I've got my big majority of my coat clipped back here. I'm going to take a little extra time to make sure that it's clean, so that very little scissor work needs to be done. I let my clippers do all the work for me. Okay, this is a big time saver for me, is that my clippers do a lot more work than my scissors do, especially when I'm doing my pet dogs. Okay? Again, what I'm showing you is the classic basic shave down that almost everybody does. I'll show you another basic shave down on a dog that requires me to go from head to toe in with the coat in another video, because I don't have one today. But you just stay tuned, you'll be able to watch it. And here's the thing, keep the skin taut. When you're going in reverse, you don't want to do this, because you're just going to kind of fold that skin up, and you're going to get it fold up like so when you're doing it. And here's another little thing. When you're using a clipper back, it's not long strokes. It's a little opposite than when you're doing it with the coat. You want long, smooth ones. When you use a clipper back and you go in reverse, you don't necessarily want to go in super long strips, because you can tend to clog up your vacuum, and then you're having to stop all the time. So little strokes about yay big are all you are going to need. Okay. And like I said, this little V that I did is pretty much going to disappear, because I'm going to shave over it with a 7-blade that we did for a poodle type neckline. But that's a-okay. There is a point where I have to take this thing off so that I can see what I'm doing. If you learn to grab those ears and pull them up out of the way, you smooth that whole neckline so that you can easily shave up to that. Okay. And turn the dog's head sideways. If you're just shaving and you don't have a pattern or anything that you're doing, just turn the head. If you're trying to set patterns and things like that, you want your dog's head straight, because if you turn it sideways and try to cut it, then you just ruin your pattern. So shave down, just move the dog into a position where, because when you have their head turned towards you, you can't really groom them very well. So. Now, I go right here to the back of the neck. There's that little bump on the back of the head. That's called an occiput. I know it sounds like an octopus, but it's an occiput. So, I go right to that point. So my blades will come up and actually hit that. Didn't want to turn those off. But I don't pull up, so I still have a natural fringe on top of that. Okay. Check and make sure I got that neckline, because now I'm going to do these legs. And because I need to put her head up higher, I need her head up out of my way. I'm going to move it up here a little bit. Now, if you make sure that you always have this is not tight, obviously, I can stick my fingers through this. She's going to be pushing and putting her head down. If you put this right up here at the base of that neck, okay, when it comes to us doing show dogs and things like that, so that we have control over the dog, you want to put that collar right here on that neckline. And if you ever test out the theory, okay, if you push right there at the base of your neck, you'll find you're less likely to choke yourself. If you move your hands down a little bit more and then you push in your neck, you can choke yourself pretty easy. So it's not that much room. You can put something right here and not choke yourself. Same thing with the dogs. You put that right up here. She's pushing down hard. I'm going to tell you that right now. But she's not choking herself because we have it in the proper spot. You want to learn to put things like that, especially when we want to keep their head up out of your way, because if not, they're just going to put their head right in the middle and you can't see what you're doing. So, I pull their arm straight out. I don't pull it out sideways, I pull it straight out. So I want her facing me if possible. And because it's shaped into a poodle feet, it makes it really easy just to go right up into that leg. And they have different hair directions, so you kind of want to go in all different directions to get that hair. Okay? Now here's where I find a lot of groomers don't get that armpit very clean because they're afraid of cutting it and nicking it. If you will tuck their elbow up like this, and then you ask them to put their arm out, you can come right up in here and clean this area out real nice and clean without cutting the armpits. Because when you try to come in here like this, that's a nightmare right there. These are your two high-risk zones for cutting. But you will take that armpit and you tuck their elbow up. So she's standing like this. You take this and you push it up. You can ask them to move it out a little bit more to clean that area up. And plus, that gives you that nice view. You can see underneath their belly and get them nice and clean. Sorry, I kind of have to get in his way because I got to see what I'm doing. Any hairs that you miss, basically with your clippers, you should be able to go back and get them with your scissors. We're almost done. She's one of your classic pull away, want to pancake kind of to the table sort of dog. Okay. So if I need to, I will pick her up and clean up this little bit right here that I couldn't get with her standing. Get a little bit more hair on that inside of her thighs. You be careful with those, but by picking her up and everything like that, you can stretch those a little bit tighter, so that you're less likely to nick them. So one last quick look over, and I think I'm pretty much good because what little bit of hairs that I have, I can easily quickly do with scissors. So, I've now done her feet, done her belly, done everything. Now I'm onto her head, and I'm pretty much going to go right back to my 10 blade because you can't do the head until I've had the whole body done so that I can set that, set it in, because if you try to do the head first, it just isn't going to look very good. Now, I'm going to use an orange comb on her, which is 13 millimeters or a ½ inch, or in my book it's going to be a half comb, depending on what brand you use. Old school, this would be a half comb to me. Not meaning it's a ½ inch, but that's what it is. So now if you watched any of my other videos, I do my teddy bear faces and I go in reverse with the clipper back. Same thing here. I'm going to go in reverse. So I've got the top of that head. Okay. Give her a second to relax. And I'm going to just go over the top of her head, just like so. Everything to the nose. But now, as you see, I come straight off the top of her head. I do not dish down or anything. Even though we are going to clean up that front of that, they don't want that visor like I normally leave. Okay, I'm going to show you how I get that. Okay, so I've gone over her head. Now, I'm going to take this very gently, and I'm going to come across her eyes. Okay, and I'll see if I can't turn her so you guys can see. Okay, so where I would come across here, I'm just going to float across and go straight across her eyes. You've got to be careful that you don't want to go too far. So I'm floating over it. I'm not trying to get super close. Okay? Because if you try to dish down, you're going to take more off right here, and it's just, you're going to fight yourself trying to get that to look good. Okay, that would be a helpful little trick in order to also set your visor if you need to, but you got to be careful because you can take a little bit too much off, so you want to float over it. Now, her ears, I have another brand of comb, which is a number 2, which is a 1/4 inch or a 6 mil. And that is, this is a wall blade, a wall purple, so it's one of the lower ones. If you have oysters, you have a blue comb, and then you have a red comb. There's nothing in between that. I had to go out and buy just one comb to go in between those two. So, in theory, that's a number 7 blade, okay? That's a number 5 blade, that's a number 4, and what I just did here, that's a number 3 blade, okay? So you use your combs in different types of coat where an actual 3 blade would not be feasible. So that's another thing. That's a whole other story as well when it comes to these. I can show you lots of tips and tricks in remembering which one to use or where to use and when to use, but again, that's a different one. But for make things simple, it's a wall purple, violet, lilac, whatever color you want to call it. A 6 mil. Okay, and I'm going to go down on her ears with this because again they want short, so I'm going to give it to them. And again, your blades always go to the outside part of the ear. Okay, you don't. Don't want to go up against, you don't want to go along the side, you want to go always to the outside of the ear. And so you run the risk of slicing that ear open. Okay, so we've got a basic cut right now. I'm now done with my clippers. Now it's on to scissor work. Now I've already filed her nails and already cut her toenails, so we don't have to mess with that. And I'm pretty much just going to come in with a pair of thinning shears and my curves. I use Sensei swivel thumbs, which are the open. When it comes to scissors, you want to spend the money on a good pair of scissors. Now I will be honest, I do have a set of the Purple Dragon scissors. I don't, I use these only because I got them sharpened and like the way they cut. They do cut better once they've been professionally sharpened. If you order them off of Geek or Wish or wherever, you'll find they're cut, but not as nice as they could cut. So do send them off to be sharpened. Real quick on scissors, you can see how my hand is closed. Okay, these are pretty much a basic set of scissors. You're going to have most of them all set like this. Okay, and then there's the flippers that you have that they're literally set right up underneath each other, like this. So straight up and down. These are great because you can flip them around to the different angles that you need. So if you need a curve that way or a curve this way, you have a set right there. The thing of it is they're harder on your hands. So if I hold my hand just right, this is straight, my arm is all straight, okay, I have a real sharp kink right here, and I've been grooming for over 15 years, 16 years now. I don't have carpal tunnel problems. Now, 3 years into my grooming, I did have the start of it because I was using scissors like this. I have eventually gone to this. See how my hand is nice and open, okay? It's the way that the thumb is set forward. And the plus, I can still keep my arm straight and turn my scissors in any direction I need to without kinking my wrist, okay? So scissoring is always a big thing. When you do a lot of it, you need to have spend the money on good set of scissors, okay? I have straights. I always use curves pretty much on everything. So, but to get started on her, now, they don't like the visor, and I'm gonna so hate doing this. I'm gonna zoom this in for you guys. Will it zoom in? Okay, might not be as clear as we want it, but it's a little closer for you guys. Okay, so I need her push back some. So if this is all you were doing and you're doing a visor, okay, we've kind of got the cut going. So I come over here from the corner of the eye, okay, and basically if you just cut and clean that up, okay, so we've opened that eye up. Come over here and do the same thing. You can't get the eye, I will be honest, this is probably one of your harder bits, is trying to get both sides to be even, because cutting this way on one side and you cut down on the other, you fold that hair a different direction. So you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, so now that I've got basically everything pointed to the nose, okay, basically to make it easy, just come over here and go connect the two. Just go straight across. Okay, and then you can kind of just take off those sharp little scissors. Now I'm going a little bit shorter on this visor than I did the last time because they wanted shorter. And that would be pretty good to me if I was just to leave it and go home. But they want it shorter. They want this basically pushed back right into the eyes. And if you do all that, you can see what little bit of hair I have right here. If you were to just to shave it all the way down, you'd have like a big hole in her head, and it just doesn't look very nice. So you have a little bit of hair to fill in right here in this spot. And okay, if you'll take your scissors and go kind of at a 45 over across the head, I have to kind of go because I'm going shorter. You're going to take your thinning shears and float over that bit, and you're basically, instead of having a ridge come out, you're cutting that ridge off and pretty much rounding that head. And this is always the first bit that I do on that face, is to set this front over those eyes. And now you go, all this work for just a simple shave down. Yep. I go for quality, not quantity. I like to, if I'm going to do a shave down, I always brag and say it's going to be the best damn shave down you've ever had. And that's my selling point. So, in the neighborhood that I'm from, everybody shaves down because I kind of refer to them as backyard whacking hacks. But don't take offense to that. I really am happy if you actually are trying to improve your skills. Okay, I know everyone's got to start somewhere. Now when doing the side of the face, we've got a shaved face and then we have hair. This is where thinning shears are going to come in really, really nice. And you kind of just blend that in, but you want to blend straight up and down. Don't blend sideways. So if I can turn her sideways for you, okay, can you see how it's more straight up and down? Okay, don't try to blend diagonally, because again, when her ear is back over, you're going to have a big flat spot in that side of her head, and it's just going to look off. Okay, so when you do your blending, keep those scissors straight up and down along that face. Okay, that way when it sits there, at least you don't have this big dish in her face. Because their face, believe it or not, when you shave it, are pretty lumpy. And what we're trying to do is we're going to hide the fact that her face is lumpy and her head's bumpy, and giving it just a nice smooth look where if you shaved it all down, they really look like an ugly naked rat. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not. We really could go further back on this bit. Again, it's just not my style. I'm trying to accommodate them so that it's still something I'm happy to put my name on, where anybody else would probably just shave it down. So yes, we left a little bit of hair just for aesthetics, basically. Now the back of the head, same thing. When you start and hold their head, okay, she's pushing on me pretty hard. So I want to point her head down. Hold still. Okay, so I want to point her head down and come up underneath that coat. And it's really, really hard to see, I think, from this angle, so I'm going to show you guys. Her occiput's up here, but she's got hair starting down here. To blend this in, okay, my scissors are pretty much angled right at that occiput, but I'm not really cutting any hair right there, okay? But I'm arching her neck so that I can get this bit. And I'm just coming from underneath to blend this in. Okay? And then you can do the same thing. You can come down on it. Just be very cautious about not taking too much. Okay? So, now that we've got the front and the sides and the back, now comes the ears, okay? These can be tricky because you always get these little weird, strange things, and we got longer hair to shorter hair on these ears. So, the key little trick is if you take that ear and you kind of just pull it forward so that it comes and lay it up against her face, okay? And you see this little bit right here? That's what's going to come off. You can do that with scissors as well, but this is going to have that ear, the hair set better on that ear. So if you can see, I'm trying to see myself, okay, this just lays down into that ear. Even though I only took a little bit of hair off, a little bit makes a big, big difference. Same thing here. You come over here and we're going to pull that ear down, and anything that sticks out of that line that you can imagine that you want, cut it off. Okay, by pulling this down flat, you make that ear flatter so that you can see your line and scissor over your line straighter. Okay, and we just get that to clean up a whole lot nicer. Okay, clean up a little more here. Okay, and then you basically just go over and check. I've got some stray hairs. Okay, now the ears. I find a lot of people, I don't know about you, they would say that they're happy with those ears. That's unfinished to me. It's not looking very nice and neat. So pretty much I will come in, and again I use my curves, but I'm not using the whole length of my curves. Now I pull all this hair off to the side, okay, and I come in and I'm going to edge that, and my scissors are literally riding right along the end of her her ear leather, but I'm not trying to get so close to it, okay? And again, you saw I only went to the point, okay? I didn't keep trying to go around, because I went to the point and that's as far as I can go, okay? Same thing here. We're going to pull everything off to the side. And we've got a nice, beautiful, finished ear without all the little hairy stragglies that I seem to find in a lot of photos. And I'm only showing this to you guys because I find so many people don't know it. And so this is where I want to help you guys better yourselves. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that if that's all you can do, but I want to show you how to achieve that. With those. Now quickly, any other little spots I need to do, I'm going to scissor them right now. So I've done the head. I'm happy I'm done with the head. I'm going to come back here to her little hiney, and I'm going to just clean up. They got a lot of cowlicks and stuff going on. Just going to clean up a few of these little long hairs that, you know, you just seem to not get with the clippers. And when you come across a cowlick, like there's one right there, take your thinners and go right over the top of it. Okay, and you can actually flatten that cowlick out and you don't have all these hairs sticking out. This is what we do to get that hair to lay down real nice and pretty on some of the little dogs that have hair on their necks. Like I said, I'm all for the quality of work. And even though we shaved this, some people would be happy to leave it. It's not finished to me unless I can kind of make it look nice and neat. So I'm just going to come in and clean up those angles. There's always some hairs right here that you just can never get with shaving, where scissors are going to come in handy. and just help clean that up. It's not much, as you see. But if you want to advertise that you can give them the best shave down they've ever had, well, this is what you are going to need to start doing. I see a few little hairs on the back of her legs. All right. And now you say, how do I blend? This is pretty much, and float over the top of that in an X pattern. And just lightly take a little bit off of that top. You're going to blend that off pretty well. So she's got just a little bit of tufts right here. You brush that up. Okay. I hope you guys can all see. I can't see because of the comments in my way, but I'm hoping you guys can see it in the picture. You kind of go over it in an X pattern. So you go one way, and then you go the other direction. And that will blend it in nice and smooth for you and not have any choppy lines or anything like that. And then there's sometimes you get these hairs up here. Again, they're cowlicks. You just kind of cut straight across the top of them with thinning shears. You can blend those down and get those to lay down nice and neat. One last thing, I'll show you guys how I do tails. That's another really funny thing for me. Again, I'm showing you a complete basic shave down. You can do this with a 5, a 4, a 3. You can do this with anything. Okay, this is just your basic foundation, what everybody seems to do. Now, they don't like the hair it gets a lot of things get caught in it. Right at the moment, it's actually pretty good. But if you have the dog stand there, okay, if the dog's standing up straight, I'll take that tail, and let me move this camera down for you guys. Okay. So when the dog is standing there, I'll take that tail, I'll hold it straight down, and wherever my fingers hit that bottom, okay, that's, when they say I want the tail shorter, that's about how much I'm going to take off, is whatever hits the ground. So when that tail is down, okay, that's basically my guide. I'm not going to take that much hair off, okay, because she really isn't all that bad. So there's the tip of her tail there, okay. I'm probably just going to come out. If you just hold it and do a finger's width, okay, that's enough to get a lot of the dead split ends off, okay. And you've seen hairdressers do this, right? Okay, what you're doing is you're just making that a little bit more of a natural thing. You can't achieve this look with doing it with thinning shears. Okay, now when you look at it, it doesn't look too freshly cut. Okay, so that's a butch cut, at least what my terms are called. It's a butch cut. To do a flag cut, okay, you cut the tip off. Okay, we've kind of got the start of a flag tail. Okay, so pretty much part that tail down the middle. Okay, and this is the simple difference between cutting straight off and then tapering it. This little sharp bit right here, okay, that just gets cut straight off. And again, okay, you can do it with your straights or your curves or however. You're just gonna come in here, and that's it. That's a flag tail. That's the only difference. And then you can just come in here and blend that in a little bit more. And you can blend that hair all the way up. Okay, Sometimes the tips are very funny, okay? If you slightly come up here to the top, you can round that off a little bit more so it's a little bit more of a natural look, okay? But we started off with a straight blunt cut, and then to get a flagtail, okay, which is what most dogs tend to get, you just take that little triangle piece that was right there and just cut that off. And I call this groom done. So, I know it turned out to be a little bit long. If you guys have watched it all the way to the end, thank you so much. You guys can always come back and, like I said, skip through it. There's lots of little tips in there that I showed you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or anything like that. So, alright, well, I'm going to let you guys go. I know one of you guys just popped in, but I'm all done for the now. But you can watch this video as soon as it loads up. Alright?